Imagine waking up to the relentless drumming of your heart against your chest, a feeling of impending doom washing over you. Despite the world outside being calm and still, you look around, and everything seems normal, yet inside, it feels as if an alarm has been triggered for no apparent reason. This experience of anxiety often feels like an uninvited guest, barging into your mind and bringing a suitcase packed with worries about the future, about what could happen, about expectations that weigh heavily on your shoulders. Many people are intimately familiar with this sensation. You may even recognize it in your own life. It can leave you feeling trapped in a cycle of fear and uncertainty, questioning your ability to cope with the pressures that life throws your way. But what if I told you that there is a way to navigate through this storm? Buddhism, with its rich tapestry of wisdom and practice, offers transformative insights into understanding and managing anxiety. Through its teachings, we learn not only to face our fears, but also to find a deep sense of peace and acceptance amidst the chaos. This journey invites us to explore the nature of our thoughts and emotions, empowering us to reclaim our inner calm. 1. Acknowledging anxiety as part of the human experience. Anxiety is not just an isolated experience. It is an intrinsic part of human life. In Buddhism, Buddha taught that suffering is universal, a fundamental reality of existence that transcends individual circumstances, wealth, or social status. Fear, worry, and anxiety are manifestations of this suffering, emotions that arise naturally in all people, regardless of background. Buddhism offers a framework to view anxiety not as a weakness but as a shared experience of humanity. When we look at anxiety from this perspective, it becomes less of an enemy and more of an experience we can understand and accept. This understanding forms the foundation for transforming how we deal with anxious feelings. By recognizing that anxiety is a universal experience, we shift our mindset from one of isolation and shame to one of connection and compassion. Expanded example: Hiro's journey with anxiety. Consider Hiro, a driven young professional who was rapidly climbing the corporate ladder. Hiro's success was visible to all. He had a prestigious job, a strong reputation among colleagues, and the admiration of his family. But beneath this polished surface, Hiro felt plagued by relentless worry. The fear of making mistakes haunted him constantly, and he dreaded the thought of disappointing those who believed in him. Hiro worried about maintaining his status, feared losing his hard-won achievements, and felt an ever-present pressure to be perfect. For a long time, Hiro saw his anxiety as a personal failing, a sign that he wasn't strong or capable enough. He believed that if he were truly competent, he wouldn't feel this way. This belief created a cycle of self-blame, intensifying his anxiety and leaving him feeling isolated. He was convinced that no one else felt the way he did, that his fear was unique to him. Then one day, Hiro attended a seminar on mindfulness, where the speaker shared a teaching from Buddha. Suffering is universal. This simple yet profound message struck Hiro deeply. He began to realize that anxiety and worry were not unique flaws but shared human experiences that everyone encounters to some extent. He learned that Buddha viewed these emotions not as signs of weakness, but as part of the journey we all share in life. This shift in perspective was transformative for Hiro. Suddenly, he no longer felt like he had to battle his anxiety alone. He began to understand that his struggle was part of a larger, shared human condition. His worries didn't make him less than or broken. They made him human. This recognition allowed him to approach his anxiety with more compassion. Instead of viewing it as something he needed to hide or fix, he began to see it as an experience he could accept, observe, and ultimately manage more mindfully. Understanding that anxiety is part of life allows us to see it without shame. We become less focused on fixing it and more on managing it mindfully. The universality of anxiety, a shared human condition. Acknowledging anxiety as a common experience isn't just comforting, it's empowering. Recognizing that everyone faces some form of anxiety allows us to see it in a new light. It shifts the focus from isolation to connection, reminding us that we are not alone in our struggles. Example, community support in dealing with anxiety. Let's take another example, that of a support group for individuals dealing with chronic anxiety. People from all walks of life, students, parents, professionals, and retirees, come together to share their experiences. The diversity in the group illustrates how anxiety doesn't discriminate. It affects people regardless of their life situation or accomplishments. One participant, Sarah, shares how she used to feel ashamed of her anxiety, thinking it was a personal weakness. But as she listened to others, she realized that many people had similar experiences. This realization lifted a weight from her shoulders. Hearing others articulate the same fears and worries she harbored made her feel less alone and more understood. It allowed her to see anxiety not as an individual burden but as a shared human condition. By understanding that anxiety is something that everyone encounters, Sarah found that she could approach her own struggles with greater compassion. She learned to be gentle with herself, recognizing that her feelings were part of the human experience, not a personal flaw. This shift in perspective enabled her to begin managing her anxiety in a healthier, more mindful way. The power of acceptance in Buddhist practice. In Buddhism, acceptance is a key practice in managing life's inevitable suffering, including anxiety. Buddhist teachings encourage us to see suffering not as a punishment or failure, but as a natural aspect of life. This acceptance lays the groundwork for transforming our relationship with anxiety. By acknowledging that anxiety is part of life, we move from resistance to acceptance. When we resist anxiety, we amplify it. Our minds begin a battle, seeing anxious thoughts as enemies to be defeated. This struggle creates tension and intensifies our feelings. Acceptance, on the other hand, helps us make peace with our emotions, allowing us to manage them more effectively. Example, the parable of the second arrow. Buddha often used parables to convey his teachings. One well-known story is the parable of the second arrow. He taught that when we experience pain, whether physical or emotional, that is the first arrow. It's the natural pain of life, something we cannot avoid. However, when we react to this pain with anger, fear, or resistance, we are struck by a second arrow, one we shoot ourselves. This second arrow represents our reaction to pain, which often causes us more suffering than the initial pain itself. In the context of anxiety, the first arrow is the feeling itself, the nervousness, worry, or fear we experience. The second arrow is our judgment of these feelings, the shame or frustration we feel about being anxious. By recognizing and accepting anxiety as a natural experience, we avoid the second arrow. We learn to feel our anxiety without adding layers of judgment or resistance, which helps reduce its intensity. Acceptance allows us to experience anxiety without the added burden of shame or resistance, freeing us from the second arrow. Understanding anxiety as a teacher. In Buddhist thought, emotions like anxiety are seen not just as obstacles but as teachers. By examining our anxiety, we can uncover valuable insights about ourselves and our attachments. Buddha taught that our suffering often arises from our attachments, our desire to control, to achieve, or to be seen in a certain way. Anxiety often signals these attachments, revealing where we are clinging too tightly. Example, Hannah's realization about control. Hannah, a perfectionist, often found herself paralyzed by anxiety, especially when things didn't go as planned. Her fear of losing control made her anxious about every minor detail. When she began studying Buddhist teachings, she learned about the concept of attachment and how it relates to suffering. She realized that her anxiety stemmed from her attachment to control, her desire to have everything turn out perfectly. This realization was eye-opening for Hannah. She saw that her anxiety was trying to teach her something about herself. about her need for control. By accepting this, she could begin the process of letting go, slowly releasing her tight grip on outcomes. This didn't mean she stopped caring, but rather that she stopped needing everything to be perfect. This shift allowed her to approach her life with a newfound sense of freedom and flexibility. Anxiety can reveal our attachments, teaching us where we need to let go and approach life with a more open heart. Compassion, a key to accepting anxiety. In Buddhism, compassion is not only directed toward others but also toward oneself. Buddha emphasized the importance of being gentle with ourselves, especially when facing difficult emotions like anxiety. Often, we are our harshest critics, blaming ourselves for feeling anxious or weak. Cultivating self-compassion allows us to embrace our anxiety without self-judgment, creating a nurturing space within ourselves. Example: Sarah's self-compassion practice. Sarah, a high school teacher, frequently felt overwhelmed by her responsibilities. She was highly dedicated to her students but often felt she wasn't doing enough, leading to anxiety and self-doubt. She blamed herself for not being stronger or more capable. When Sarah began incorporating Buddhist practices into her life, she learned about metta, or loving kindness. She started a daily practice of self-compassion, repeating phrases like, "May I be kind to myself. May I accept myself as I am." Gradually, Sarah noticed a shift in her relationship with anxiety. She no longer felt the need to berate herself for feeling anxious. Instead, she approached her anxiety with kindness, treating herself as she would a close friend in need. This shift in perspective reduced her anxiety, allowing her to feel more at peace with herself. Self-compassion creates a safe space within, allowing us to approach anxiety with kindness rather than criticism. Seeing anxiety as a shared journey. When we view anxiety as part of the shared human experience, we not only reduce our own suffering but also cultivate empathy for others. Recognizing that everyone experiences anxiety helps us see ourselves in others, breaking down barriers of judgment and misunderstanding. This collective understanding can create a strong sense of community and support. Example: building community through shared struggle. In a small Buddhist meditation center, a group of individuals struggling with anxiety gathered each week. Through sharing their experiences, they began to see that their fears were not so unique. Each person's story echoed the others. They supported each other, offering words of encouragement and understanding. This shared journey fostered a sense of community that allowed each individual to feel less alone. By recognizing anxiety as a common experience, they gained the strength to face it together. 2. Mindfulness practice. Observing the mind's movements. Mindfulness, as Buddha taught, involves observing thoughts and feelings without judgment, creating a gentle detachment from them. This practice helps us see thoughts as temporary, like clouds drifting across the sky, allowing us to respond with calm rather than being overwhelmed. 1. Amara's journey with mindful observation. Amara, a high-achieving student, struggled with anxiety and feelings of inadequacy. Through mindfulness, she learned to view her anxious thoughts as clouds passing through the sky. Visualizing these thoughts as temporary allowed her to detach from them, helping her feel calm and realize that she wasn't defined by these passing feelings. When we see our thoughts as clouds, we realize that we are the steady sky, not the shifting clouds. The 4 foundations of awareness in Buddhist mindfulness. Buddha's teachings on mindfulness encompass awareness of the body, feelings, the mind, and mental states. Together, These four foundations foster a balanced approach to managing thoughts and emotions. 1. Mindfulness of the body. Rami, a teacher overwhelmed by work, found peace through mindful breathing. By focusing on his breath, he grounded himself in the present moment, calming his mind. This awareness helped him manage stress and reconnect with himself amid his busy schedule. The breath is an anchor, bringing us back to the present when our thoughts drift into the storms of anxiety. 2. Mindfulness of feelings. Mira, often overwhelmed by waves of sadness, learned to sit with her emotions instead of resisting them. She discovered that her feelings rose and fell like waves. Accepting this rhythm helped her realize that emotions are temporary, reducing their power over her. Feelings are like waves, they rise and fall. When we stop resisting, we can surf the waves rather than be drowned by them. 3. Mindfulness of the mind. Ja, a businessman, struggled with self-criticism. Through mindfulness, he began observing his thoughts without judgment, treating his inner critic as background noise. This practice helped him detach from negative self-talk, reducing his anxiety and increasing his self-confidence. Observing our thoughts without judgment takes away their power to dictate our feelings. 4. Mindfulness of mental states. Sophia, a healthcare worker, often felt drained by her job. By checking in with her mental state throughout the day, she learned to recognize when she was tired or stressed. This awareness helped her respond to her needs with compassion, building resilience and reducing emotional reactivity. Being aware of our mental state tunes us into ourselves, helping us respond with care. Mindful responses instead of automatic reactions. Mindfulness gives us the space to respond rather than react impulsively. This practice fosters patience, allowing us to pause and choose our response thoughtfully. Example: Liam's mindful pause at work. Liam, project manager, used to react defensively to stress at work. Through mindfulness, he practiced pausing before responding, allowing him to approach challenges calmly. This pause helped him foster better relationships with colleagues, reducing workplace stress. Mindfulness creates a pause between thought and action, empowering us to respond with intention rather than react impulsively. Visualizing thoughts for detachment. Visualizations help create distance from our thoughts, such as seeing them as clouds or visualizing oneself as a mountain with weather passing over. This detachment prevents us from being swept away by intense emotions. Example: Ellie's mountain visualization. During a stressful exam season, Ellie visualized herself as a mountain enduring a storm. This visualization grounded her, allowing her to witness her anxiety without becoming overwhelmed. Seeing herself as a steady presence amidst the storm of emotions helped her regain control. Like a mountain beneath shifting weather, we remain steady, observing passing storms without losing our ground. Building a daily mindfulness practice. Incorporating mindfulness into daily life, even for a few minutes each day, gradually enhances our ability to observe thoughts and emotions calmly. This consistent practice supports long-term mental clarity and resilience. Example: Amara's morning routine. Amara established a morning routine where she spent a few minutes observing her breath. This simple habit set a calm tone for her day, helping her detach from anxious thoughts. With time, her mindfulness practice became natural, enriching her daily life. A few mindful minutes each day builds a habit of awareness, enriching our lives. Benefits of mindfulness practice in daily life. Mindfulness practice extends beyond managing anxiety, improving focus, emotional resilience, self-awareness, and relationships. 1. Improved focus and concentration. Jane, distracted by work pressures, practiced mindful breathing, which helped her stay focused on one task at a time. This shift increased her productivity and reduced feelings of overwhelm. Mindfulness sharpens our focus, allowing us to approach each task with clarity. 2. Emotional resilience. Tom, a lawyer under high pressure, practiced mindfulness to manage his reactions. He learned to observe his frustration, allowing him to handle cases calmly. This resilience reduced his stress and improved client relationships. Mindfulness empowers us to observe emotions, allowing us to respond calmly. 3. Enhanced self-awareness. Lena, a writer, used mindfulness to observe her self-critical thoughts. Recognizing this inner dialogue helped her cultivate self-compassion, enabling her to write more freely and confidently. Mindfulness shines a light on our inner world, fostering self-awareness and growth. 4. Better relationships. Mark, a father, practiced mindful listening to improve communication with his partner. This awareness helped him avoid reacting defensively, enhancing their understanding and connection. Mindful listening deepens our connections, fostering empathy. Integrating mindfulness into daily activities. Mindfulness can be practiced during everyday tasks, transforming ordinary moments into opportunities for presence. 1. Mindful breathing on the go. Lucas, a busy nurse, took mindful breaths between patient visits, grounding himself before each interaction. This practice helped him approach patients with full attention, enhancing his care. A few mindful breaths ground us, even during busy moments. 2. Observing thoughts and emotions. Rachel, a marketing manager, checked in with her thoughts and feelings midday, releasing stress before it built up. This awareness improved her productivity and maintained her calm. Checking in with our thoughts and emotions gives insight, helping us navigate the day with balance. 3. Practicing mindful listening. David, a father, practiced mindful listening with his children, giving them his full attention. This simple act strengthened their bond and made his children feel valued. Mindful listening fosters connection, helping others feel heard. 4. Cultivating gratitude. Mia, an entrepreneur, reflected on 3 things she was grateful for each day. This practice shifted her focus from future goals to present achievements, enhancing her contentment. Gratitude grounds us, helping us appreciate what we have now. 5. Bringing mindfulness to daily activities. Liam focused on sensations during his morning walk, helping him start his day with clarity and creativity. This mindful approach enriched his routine, providing a sense of peace. Everyday activities offer opportunities for mindfulness, bringing peace to each moment. The ripple effect of mindfulness. Mindfulness benefits individuals and creates a positive ripple effect, influencing relationships, work, and interactions with others. Example, Anna's mindful leadership. Anna, a manager, modeled mindfulness at her nonprofit, inspiring her team. Her calm demeanor created a positive work environment, fostering resilience and cohesion among her team members. Mindfulness transforms us and uplifts others, creating a ripple effect of positive change. Building a sustainable mindfulness practice. Consistency in mindfulness is essential. By starting small, we can gradually make mindfulness a part of daily life, supporting mental clarity and well-being. Example, Sarah's sustainable routine. Sarah, a university student, started with 5 minutes of morning mindfulness. This small commitment grew naturally into a daily habit, enhancing her resilience and mental clarity. A sustainable mindfulness practice grows gradually, enriching our lives with patience and persistence. Mindfulness invites us to observe our inner world with calm and detachment, empowering us to respond to life with clarity and compassion. By seeing our thoughts and feelings as temporary, we experience a profound sense of peace that supports us through life's ups and downs. Through mindful awareness, we realize we are not our thoughts or emotions but the steady presence that observes them. This understanding allows us to navigate life's challenges with grace, finding peace even amid the storms. 3. Separating from thoughts and emotions. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is the practice of creating space between our thoughts and our true identity. Buddha emphasized that while thoughts and emotions are real experiences, they are not the essence of who we are. Our thoughts, which can shift from joy to sadness to anxiety within moments, are fleeting, temporary experiences that do not define us. By learning to observe thoughts without attaching to them, we allow ourselves the freedom to respond calmly, rather than reacting impulsively. Separating from our thoughts does not mean ignoring or suppressing them. Rather, it involves seeing thoughts as experiences that come and go, like leaves floating on a river. This detachment creates a sense of calm and clarity. As we recognize that we are not our thoughts, we are the observer of them. Expanded example: the young man and the monk's wisdom. In a small mountain village, a young man found himself overwhelmed by constant worry, fearful of the future and haunted by self-doubt. He couldn't shake the feeling that his mind was his own worst enemy. One day, seeking relief, he visited a monk known throughout the region for his wisdom and calm demeanor. The young man asked, "Do you ever feel fear?" The monk smiled gently and replied, "Of course, fear visits me like any other thought, but I watch it as a traveler passing by." Surprised, the young man asked, "How can you watch fear without being afraid?" The monk explained, "Imagine your thoughts as logs floating down a river. Some logs are heavy with fear, others with joy, and others with anger, but they all drift away. You don't need to reach for each log or examine it. You simply let it float by." The young man took the monk's words to heart. He began practicing this visualization daily, imagining his worries and fears as logs moving down a river. Over time, he felt less compelled to chase each thought, less consumed by his anxieties. Instead of seeing each fearful thought as a threat, he recognized it as just another passing experience, one that he didn't have to follow. This shift allowed him to feel a sense of inner peace, freeing him from the relentless grasp of his thoughts. Thoughts are like travelers or logs on a river. We don't have to follow each one. We can let them pass. The practice of observing thoughts without judgment. In observing our thoughts without judgment, we develop the ability to see them for what they truly are, fleeting and often unreliable. By watching our thoughts like clouds moving across the sky or waves rolling onto the shore, we gain the perspective to notice patterns and let go of reactions. This practice is central to mindfulness in Buddhism and cultivates a calm, detached awareness. Example: the story of Hannah and her inner critic. Hannah, a young artist, struggled with a relentless inner critic. Every time she attempted to paint, thoughts of self-doubt and insecurity surfaced, casting a shadow over her creativity. She often found herself reacting impulsively, either abandoning her work or feeling paralyzed by anxiety. Through mindfulness practice, Hannah learned to observe her thoughts from a distance. She visualized her self-critical thoughts as leaves drifting on a stream, coming and going without permanence. Over time, she noticed patterns in her inner dialogue, realizing that these thoughts often repeated themselves but didn't necessarily reflect the truth. By observing without judgment, she could separate herself from these thoughts, allowing her creativity to flourish without interference from her inner critic. Observing thoughts without judgment allows us to see patterns and let go of reactions, creating space for calm and clarity. The power of detachment in daily life. Practicing detachment from thoughts has a profound impact on our daily interactions and decisions. When we are less influenced by every fleeting thought or emotion, we make choices with greater clarity and intentionality. We respond to situations calmly, without the added weight of impulsive reactions. Example, Tom's journey to calm decision-making. Tom, a manager in a high-stress work environment, was often overwhelmed by conflicting thoughts and emotions when making decisions. He worried about disappointing his team, his boss, and even himself. This constant self-doubt clouded his ability to make clear choices. Through mindfulness, Tom learned to observe his thoughts as if they were clouds moving across the sky. He noticed his anxieties and self-doubt but didn't feel compelled to react immediately. Instead, he gave himself time to consider each thought, letting it pass before making a decision. This practice of detachment helped Tom make thoughtful, grounded choices, allowing him to lead with calmness and confidence. Detachment from thoughts allows us to make decisions with clarity, free from the impulsive influence of fleeting emotions. 4. Analyzing the triggers of anxiety. Another Buddhist teaching that complements the practice of detaching from thoughts is the concept of self-inquiry. Buddha encouraged individuals to look deeply into their emotions and thoughts, exploring the roots of their anxiety without attaching judgment. This process, called self-inquiry, helps us understand why certain thoughts arise and how past experiences or imagined scenarios can intensify present feelings. By calmly examining the origins of our anxious thoughts, we often uncover that they are tied to past experiences or future fears. Understanding these triggers allows us to see that they don't necessarily reflect our current reality. Instead, they are shadows from the past or mirages of the future that have no real power over us. Expanded example, Rina's reflection on her fear. Rina, a devoted mother, spent many sleepless nights worrying about her children's safety. Even when her children were home, safe and sound, her mind filled with what-if scenarios. She imagined every possible danger, from illnesses to accidents, and felt consumed by a constant state of anxiety. Through her Buddhist mindfulness practice, Rina began to gently question her fears, asking herself, "What am I truly afraid of?" With patience, she discovered that her anxiety was rooted in a childhood trauma. Her father had passed away suddenly when she was young, leaving her with an unshakable sense of unpredictability. This old wound influenced her present worries, making her fear that her loved ones could be taken away at any moment. Understanding this trigger allowed Rina to view her fears with compassion rather than panic. She saw that her worries were echoes of past pain, not reflections of her current reality. This self-awareness helped her release her need for constant vigilance, trusting in the present rather than her memories. Over time, Rina found a sense of peace and was able to let go of her constant worry. By uncovering the roots of our fears, we see that they are often shadows of the past or mirages of the future. The role of self-inquiry in recognizing patterns. Self-inquiry allows us to recognize patterns in our thinking, particularly those that trigger anxiety. By examining our thoughts calmly, we uncover the underlying beliefs that influence our emotional reactions. This insight helps us break free from repetitive cycles, empowering us to respond more consciously. Example, Leo's reflection on his fear of failure. Leo, a young entrepreneur, often felt paralyzed by the fear of failing in his new business venture. Every setback, no matter how minor, intensified his anxiety. He constantly worried about what others would think and feared disappointing his family and friends. Through self-inquiry, Leo explored the roots of his fear. He realized that his anxiety stemmed from a long-held belief that he needed to be perfect to be valued. This belief had developed during his childhood, when he was often praised only for achievements, not effort. Recognizing this pattern, Leo began to release his attachment to perfectionism. He understood that failure was a natural part of growth and didn't define his worth. This self-awareness allowed him to approach challenges with resilience, seeing them as opportunities for growth rather than threats. Self-inquiry reveals the beliefs that shape our emotional reactions, empowering us to break free from limiting patterns. Cultivating compassion through self-inquiry. Buddhist teachings encourage us to approach self-inquiry with compassion. Often, the triggers of our anxiety are tied to past wounds or learned fears. By viewing these triggers with gentleness, we can begin to heal, rather than judge ourselves for experiencing anxiety. Example: Sarah's compassionate approach to her anxiety. Sarah, a medical student, often experienced overwhelming anxiety about her academic performance. She feared failing her exams and believed that any mistake would ruin her future career. Her self-inquiry revealed that her anxiety stemmed from a perfectionist mindset and a fear of disappointing her parents, who had high expectations for her. Instead of criticizing herself for feeling anxious, Sarah chose to approach her fears with compassion. She acknowledged her anxiety as a natural response to her past conditioning. By practicing kindness toward herself, she was able to reduce her anxiety's grip, understanding that her worth was not tied to her academic success. Approaching our fears with compassion allows us to heal and move forward, freeing us from the burden of self-judgment. Integrating self-inquiry and detachment in daily life. Continued. By combining self-inquiry and detachment, we can observe our thoughts, understand their origins, and let them go with compassion. This practice allows us to navigate life's challenges with clarity and intention, responding mindfully rather than reacting from a place of fear or conditioning. Example: Tom's practice of reflection and release. Tom, the manager introduced earlier, began using self-inquiry every time he felt overwhelmed by anxiety at work. During his reflections, he noticed a pattern. His fears were deeply connected to a need for approval. He realized that much of his anxiety stemmed from wanting his colleagues and superiors to see him as competent and successful. By understanding this, he could view his fear of judgment as a remnant of past conditioning rather than an accurate reflection of the present situation. Over time, Tom combined this insight with the practice of detachment. Whenever a fear-based thought arose, he acknowledged it and reminded himself that it was simply an old habit of thinking. He imagined the thought as a leaf on a stream, drifting past him, and consciously chose not to engage with it. Through this process of reflection and release, Tom gained greater control over his reactions and found he could approach his work with more confidence and peace. Reflection allows us to understand the roots of our anxieties, and detachment enables us to let them go, freeing us to act with clarity and calm. Seeing thoughts and emotions as impermanent. One of the fundamental teachings in Buddhism is the impermanent nature of all things, including thoughts and emotions, recognizing that our anxieties, fears, and worries are temporary experiences helps us to maintain perspective. Like waves in the ocean, thoughts arise, peak, and eventually fade away. This understanding reminds us not to grasp onto fleeting emotions or allow them to dictate our sense of self. Example: Sophia's realization of impermanence. Sophia, a new mother, often found herself overwhelmed by waves of worry about her baby's health and safety. Whenever her child showed even a slight symptom, her mind spiraled into worst-case scenarios. By practicing mindfulness, Sophia learned to sit with her anxiety and observe it without judgment. She recognized that her anxious thoughts were like waves. They would rise, feel intense, and then gradually recede. This realization allowed Sophia to relax her grip on her worries. She understood that her anxiety was not a permanent state but a passing experience. By reminding herself of the impermanence of her emotions, she gained the ability to calm herself during moments of intense worry, trusting that the wave of anxiety would soon subside. Understanding impermanence helps us ride the waves of emotions, knowing that they, too, will pass. Practical techniques for daily self-inquiry and detachment. To integrate self-inquiry and detachment into daily life, it helps to use practical techniques that can be practiced consistently. Here are a few simple methods to apply these teachings in everyday situations. 1. The pause and reflect technique. Whenever you feel overwhelmed by a thought or emotion, take a brief pause, observe what you're feeling without judgment, and ask yourself, what is this thought trying to tell me? This creates a moment of reflection and helps you understand the underlying belief or fear that may be triggering the emotion. Example, Alex's practice of pausing and reflecting. Alex, a graphic designer, often felt anxious before presenting his work to clients. By pausing and reflecting, he noticed that his anxiety stemmed from a fear of criticism. Recognizing this allowed him to approach presentations with a more balanced mindset, viewing feedback as a valuable learning opportunity rather than a personal attack. Pausing to reflect on our thoughts brings clarity and helps us understand the deeper fears or beliefs that drive our reactions. 2. The river visualization technique. Imagine each thought as a log floating down a river. When anxious or fearful thoughts arise, picture them as logs passing by, and remind yourself that you don't need to engage with each one. This visualization helps create a sense of detachment, allowing you to watch thoughts without being consumed by them. Example, Emily's use of the river visualization. Emily, a college student, struggled with thoughts of self-doubt, especially around exams. Using the river visualization, she learned to watch these self-critical thoughts pass by without internalizing them. She realized that she didn't need to grab onto each worry, allowing her to focus more on studying with a calm and clear mind. Visualization techniques create mental distance, helping us observe thoughts without being swept away by them. 3. Journaling for self-inquiry. Writing down your thoughts and anxieties can be a powerful tool for self-inquiry. By putting pen to paper, you can examine patterns, identify recurring beliefs, and better understand the roots of your fears. Journaling helps externalize your thoughts, making it easier to observe them with detachment. Example, Raj's journey with journaling. Raj, a recent graduate, felt anxious about his career prospects and often doubted his capabilities. Through journaling, he uncovered a deep-seated belief that he needed to be successful to feel worthy. Acknowledging this belief allowed him to challenge and release it, gradually building confidence in himself and his choices. Journaling brings our thoughts to the surface, allowing us to explore and understand them with greater clarity. Healing through compassionate awareness. As we observe and analyze our thoughts, it's essential to approach them with compassion rather than harsh judgment. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of kindness toward oneself, especially when confronting challenging emotions. When we treat our fears and anxieties with compassion, we create a nurturing space for healing and growth. Example, Maria's compassionate approach to self-doubt. Maria, a musician, struggled with perfectionism, and often criticized herself harshly when she made mistakes. By practicing compassionate awareness, she learned to view her self-doubt with kindness. She acknowledged that her fears were part of her growth as an artist and began to treat herself with the same compassion she would offer a friend. This shift in perspective allowed her to take creative risks and explore new musical expressions without fear of failure. Compassionate awareness transforms our relationship with fear, allowing us to grow with kindness and patience. The benefits of combining self-inquiry and detachment. The combination of self-inquiry and detachment creates a balanced approach to handling anxiety. Self-inquiry allows us to explore the origins of our thoughts, while detachment gives us the freedom to let go of what doesn't serve us. Together, these practices foster a resilient mindset that supports inner peace. Example, David's balanced practice in challenging times. David, an entrepreneur, faced a series of business setbacks that filled him with anxiety and self-doubt. Through self-inquiry, he identified his fear of failure as a recurring theme rooted in past experiences. By combining this insight with detachment, David could acknowledge his fear without letting it control his actions. He learned to view challenges as temporary obstacles rather than permanent roadblocks, allowing him to navigate difficult times with calm and perseverance. Combining self-inquiry and detachment strengthens our resilience, enabling us to face challenges with clarity and calm. Applying Buddhist wisdom to everyday situations. Buddhist teachings on detachment and self-inquiry are not limited to meditation but can be applied to everyday situations, helping us respond to life's uncertainties with grace and wisdom. Example, Sarah's daily application of detachment at work. Sarah, a healthcare worker, often faced stressful situations with patients and families. By practicing detachment, she could approach each case with empathy without being overwhelmed by emotions. Her practice of self-inquiry helped her understand her responses, allowing her to balance compassion with clear boundaries. This approach not only improved her well-being but also enabled her to offer better care to those in need. Detachment and self-inquiry allow us to engage with life fully, bringing compassion and clarity to even the most challenging situations. The ongoing journey of mindful observation. Mindful observation, detachment, and self-inquiry are lifelong practices that deepen with time. Each experience, whether joyful or challenging, becomes an opportunity to learn, grow, and cultivate inner peace. Buddhism encourages us to embrace this journey, understanding that every thought and emotion offers insight and wisdom. Life is a continuous journey of mindful observation, teaching us to approach each moment with awareness and compassion. By observing our thoughts, analyzing the roots of our anxieties, and practicing detachment, we gain freedom from the constant sway of emotions. These practices allow us to respond to life with wisdom and resilience, fostering a calm, centered presence that enriches our experiences and strengthens our relationships. Through Buddhist teachings, we find the tools to cultivate a steady mind and a peaceful heart, empowering us to face life's uncertainties with courage and clarity. 5. Practicing present moment awareness. Anxiety often stems from worrying about the future. Our minds fixate on what-if scenarios, imagining potential failures or catastrophes that may never come to pass. Buddha's teachings emphasize the importance of focusing on the present moment, where we can find peace and clarity. Grounding ourselves in the present allows us to quiet the incessant chatter of future concerns and discover a calm, centered existence. The nature of anxiety and its future orientation. Anxiety is a natural response to uncertainty. Our minds are wired to anticipate threats and prepare for potential challenges, a trait that has served humanity well throughout history. However, in modern times, this survival mechanism can become maladaptive. Instead of preparing for genuine threats, we often find ourselves worrying about hypothetical situations that may never occur. This overactive, future-oriented thinking pulls us away from the present, robbing us of joy and contentment in our daily lives. Expanded example, Elliot's journey to the present. Elliot was a bright and ambitious student, well-liked by his peers and respected by his professors. Despite his talents, he struggled with anxiety that stemmed from his constant preoccupation with the future. Thoughts raced through his mind about securing the best grades, landing an impressive job, and meeting the ever-growing expectations of society. Each day, Elliot's focus was on what lay ahead, leading to feelings of stress and unease. His Buddhist teacher recognized Elliot's struggle and suggested a simple but profound practice. Throughout the day, check in with yourself and ask, "What am I doing right now?" Initially skeptical, Elliot committed to this practice, using it as a grounding technique during moments of overwhelm. As he began to ask himself this question, Elliot noticed how often his mind wandered to future concerns, especially during mundane activities like studying or eating. The moment he posed the question, he redirected his focus to the present, grounding himself in whatever he was doing at that moment. If he was studying, he would focus on the text before him, the sounds of the library, and the feel of the pages between his fingers. When walking, he paid attention to the sensation of his feet on the ground and the rhythm of his breath. With practice, Elliot discovered unexpected moments of joy and satisfaction in everyday activities. He found delight in the taste of his food, the beauty of nature on his walks, and the camaraderie of friends during study sessions. Over time, his anxiety lessened significantly. He realized that by anchoring himself in the present, he could appreciate life as it unfolded, rather than worrying about what was to come. The future can pull us away from the peace of the present, but with mindfulness, we can learn to be fully here. The power of present moment awareness. Practicing present moment awareness allows us to cultivate a deeper sense of peace and gratitude. When we are fully present, we become more attuned to our experiences, leading to a richer, more fulfilling life. Example, the transformation of Lucy's daily routine. Lucy, a marketing executive, often felt overwhelmed by the demands of her job. The constant pressure to meet deadlines and deliver results left her feeling anxious and drained. Realizing the toll this was taking on her well-being, Lucy sought ways to integrate mindfulness into her daily routine. She began with simple practices, like taking mindful breaks during her workday. Instead of scrolling through her phone during lunch, she focused on her meal, savoring each bite and appreciating the flavors and textures. Lucy also practiced mindful walking during her breaks, noticing the sensation of her feet on the ground and the sights and sounds around her. These small changes transformed Lucy's relationship with her work. By anchoring herself in the present moment, she found more joy in her daily activities and a sense of fulfillment that had previously eluded her. As her anxiety diminished, she became more productive, creative, and engaged in her work. Present moment awareness transforms our experiences, allowing us to find joy in the simplest activities. Mindfulness techniques for present moment awareness. Incorporating mindfulness techniques into daily life can enhance our ability to remain present. Here are some practical strategies. 1. Mindful breathing. Focusing on your breath is one of the simplest ways to anchor yourself in the present. Take a few moments throughout the day to close your eyes and take deep breaths, paying attention to the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. Example, Max's mindful breathing practice. Max, a busy attorney, often felt overwhelmed by his workload. He began incorporating mindful breathing into his daily routine. Before each meeting, he would take a few deep breaths, grounding himself in the moment. This practice helped him approach discussions with clarity and calm, reducing his stress and increasing his effectiveness. Mindful breathing is a powerful tool that brings us back to the present, calming our minds and bodies. 2. Grounding techniques. Grounding techniques involve using your senses to bring awareness to the present. You might focus on what you can see, hear, feel, smell, and taste. This practice can help distract from anxious thoughts and reconnect you with your surroundings. Example, Tara's grounding exercise. Tara, a college student, often felt anxious before exams. She developed a grounding technique that involved 5 senses. She would name 5 things she could see, 4 things she could touch, 3 things she could hear, 2 things she could smell, and 1 thing she could taste. This exercise helped calm her nerves and redirect her focus to the present. Grounding techniques help us reconnect with our senses, anchoring us in the here and now. 3. Mindful journaling. Journaling is an effective way to practice mindfulness. Writing about your thoughts and feelings can provide insight and help you process your experiences. Focus on the present moment as you write, reflecting on what you are feeling and observing without judgment. Example, James' mindful journaling routine. James, a freelance writer, often felt scattered and anxious about his projects. He began a nightly journaling routine where he reflected on his day, noting what he felt grateful for and what he had accomplished. This practice helped him acknowledge his thoughts and feelings while fostering a sense of accomplishment and peace before sleep. Mindful journaling offers a space to reflect on our thoughts and feelings, fostering clarity and understanding. Six. Embracing imperfection and self-compassion. In Buddhism, the pursuit of perfection is an illusion that leads to suffering. Instead, true peace comes from embracing our imperfections and practicing self-compassion. Recognizing that growth is a gradual process allows us to handle anxiety and setbacks with kindness rather than harsh judgment. The illusion of perfection. Perfectionism often creates unrealistic expectations for ourselves, leading to anxiety and disappointment. When we strive for unattainable ideals, we set ourselves up for failure. The Buddhist approach encourages us to view our imperfections as integral to our humanity and a source of strength. Expanded example, Hiroshi and the art of kintsugi. Hiroshi was a craftsman in ancient Japan known for his exquisite pottery. He practiced kintsugi, an art form that repairs broken pottery with lacquer mixed with gold, highlighting the flaws rather than hiding them. This technique reflects the philosophy that imperfections can enhance beauty and tell a story. Hiroshi understood that mistakes are not failures but rather part of the creative process. When he experienced moments of anxiety about his work, he reminded himself of kintsugi. Instead of resisting his anxious thoughts, he learned to embrace them as part of his journey. By seeing his anxiety as a natural reaction, he cultivated self-compassion and understood that it didn't define him as an artist. This perspective shifted Hiroshi's approach to his work. He became more open to experimentation and less fearful of making mistakes. His pottery flourished, reflecting his newfound acceptance of imperfection. Each piece he created, with its unique flaws, became a testament to his resilience and creativity. In embracing our imperfections, we discover resilience and beauty beyond what perfection could offer. The role of self-compassion in embracing imperfection. Self-compassion is a vital aspect of handling imperfections and anxieties. It involves treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer a friend, rather than criticizing ourselves for our shortcomings. Self-compassion allows us to acknowledge our struggles and respond with love and acceptance. Example, Sarah's compassionate self-talk. Sarah, a young professional, often faced anxiety about her performance at work. She was hard on herself, constantly feeling inadequate compared to her colleagues. However, through her Buddhist practice, Sarah learned to cultivate self-compassion. When she felt anxious or made a mistake, she would remind herself, it's okay to be human. Everyone makes mistakes. By practicing self-compassion, Sarah shifted her internal dialogue from criticism to support. This change allowed her to approach her work with a sense of curiosity rather than fear. She began to view challenges as opportunities to learn and grow, reducing her anxiety and increasing her confidence. Self-compassion nurtures our growth, allowing us to learn from mistakes without self-judgment. Developing a compassionate mindset continued. Example, David's journey of compassion. David, a college student, often felt overwhelmed by the pressure to excel academically. His intense desire to maintain a perfect GPA led to sleepless nights and constant anxiety about his performance. He feared that any slip-up would lead to devastating consequences, both for his future and his self-worth. As David delved into Buddhist teachings, he began to learn about the importance of self-compassion. He realized that his fear of failure stemmed from a deep-seated belief that his worth was tied to his achievements. With this awareness, he began to practice self-compassion by acknowledging his struggles and treating himself with kindness. Instead of berating himself for a less-than-perfect grade, David started to reframe his thoughts. When he received a lower mark on a test, he would remind himself, "This does not define me. It's just one moment in my journey." He practiced talking to himself as he would to a friend, offering support, encouragement, and understanding. By cultivating this compassionate mindset, David noticed a significant reduction in his anxiety. He learned to embrace his imperfections, understanding that they were part of being human. This realization freed him from the need for perfection and allowed him to approach his studies with curiosity and openness. His academic performance improved as he became more engaged and less fearful, leading to a healthier balance between work and self-care. A compassionate mindset allows us to acknowledge our imperfections without judgment, helping us grow and learn from our experiences. Practical techniques for embracing imperfection and self-compassion. To develop a compassionate mindset and embrace our imperfections, we can incorporate practical techniques into our daily lives. Here are a few strategies to help cultivate self-compassion. 1. Mindful self-compassion practices. Mindful self-compassion involves treating ourselves with the same kindness we would offer a close friend. This practice encourages us to pause and acknowledge our feelings of discomfort without judgment. Example, Emily's self-compassion breaks. Emily, a busy professional, often felt overwhelmed by her responsibilities. She started taking self-compassion breaks during her workday. Whenever she felt anxious or critical of herself, she would take a few minutes to pause, place her hand over her heart, and breathe deeply. She would remind herself, "It's okay to struggle. I am doing my best." This practice helped Emily cultivate a sense of warmth and understanding toward herself, reducing her stress. Mindful self-compassion practices create space for kindness, allowing us to acknowledge our struggles without judgment. 2. Journaling for self-reflection. Journaling is an effective way to explore our thoughts and feelings. By writing down our experiences, we can identify patterns of self-criticism and begin to challenge them. Journaling encourages self-reflection and promotes a compassionate dialogue with ourselves. Example, Lisa's journaling journey. Lisa, a high school teacher, often felt overwhelmed by her responsibilities and fears of inadequacy. She began a journaling practice where she reflected on her day. Noting moments of self-judgment and anxiety, Lisa would write down her feelings, then follow up with a compassionate response, such as, "It's okay to feel this way. I am human, and it's natural to have these feelings." This practice helped her develop a more supportive internal dialogue, fostering resilience and reducing her anxiety. Journaling helps us uncover our inner thoughts and develop a compassionate relationship with ourselves. 3. Affirmations and positive self-talk. Affirmations are positive statements that can help shift our mindset and reinforce self-compassion. By regularly repeating affirmations, we can challenge negative beliefs and cultivate a more compassionate self-image. Example, Jake's affirmation practice. Jake, a college student, often struggled with feelings of self-doubt. To combat this, he created a list of affirmations to recite each morning. Phrases like, "I am enough," "Mistakes are a part of growth," and "I embrace my unique journey," became daily reminders of his worth. Over time, these affirmations helped reshape Jake's self-perception, reducing his anxiety and fostering a sense of confidence. Affirmations can rewire our self-talk, promoting a mindset of kindness and acceptance. 4. Embracing the kintsugi philosophy. The art of kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with gold, serves as a beautiful metaphor for embracing our imperfections. This philosophy teaches us to celebrate our flaws and recognize that they contribute to our unique beauty and story. Example, Akira's kintsugi mindset. Kira, an artist, found inspiration in the philosophy of kintsugi. After experiencing a significant failure in his art career, he felt broken and disheartened. However, he chose to view the setback as an opportunity for growth. By embracing his imperfections, he learned to incorporate them into his work. Celebrating the beauty of vulnerability, Kira's art transformed, reflecting a deeper understanding of resilience and authenticity. Embracing the kintsugi philosophy allows us to see beauty in our flaws and strength in our struggles. The ongoing practice of self-compassion and present moment awareness. Cultivating self-compassion and present moment awareness is not a one-time effort. It's an ongoing journey. As we navigate life's challenges, we can continuously practice these principles, fostering a compassionate mindset that supports our well-being. Example, Samuel's daily mindfulness routine. Samuel, a busy executive, integrated self-compassion and present moment awareness into his daily routine. He began each day with a short mindfulness meditation, focusing on his breath and setting intentions for kindness. Throughout the day, he checked in with himself, practicing self-compassion when facing challenges. When stress arose, he would pause, breathe, and remind himself that it was okay to feel overwhelmed. This routine helped Samuel maintain balance in his busy life, reducing anxiety and enhancing his overall well-being. The ongoing practice of self-compassion and present moment awareness empowers us to embrace life with kindness and clarity. The ripple effect of compassion and presence. When we embrace imperfection and practice self-compassion, the positive effects extend beyond ourselves. Our relationships with others often improve as we become more empathetic and understanding. By treating ourselves kindly, we can approach others with the same compassion. Example, the impact of Lucy's compassion on her family. Lucy, a mother of 3, struggled with perfectionism and anxiety about her parenting. After embracing self-compassion, she noticed a change in her interactions with her children. Instead of reacting harshly when they made mistakes, Lucy responded with understanding, creating a nurturing environment where her children felt safe to express themselves. This shift not only benefited her children but also strengthened their bond, fostering open communication and emotional connection. Compassion for ourselves fosters compassion for others, creating a ripple effect of kindness and understanding. Practical tips for integrating self-compassion and present moment awareness. To fully embrace self-compassion and present moment awareness, we can incorporate practical strategies into our daily lives. Here are a few tips. 1. Set daily intentions for kindness. Begin each day by setting an intention to practice self-compassion. This could be as simple as reminding yourself to be kind to yourself during moments of struggle. Example, setting intentions with Claire. Claire, a nurse, began each day by writing down her intention. Today, I will treat myself with kindness. This practice helped her approach her demanding job with a gentler mindset, reducing feelings of overwhelm. Setting daily intentions creates a positive framework for self-compassion. 2. Create a self-compassion jar. Consider creating a self-compassion jar filled with notes of encouragement, affirmations, or reminders of your worth. Whenever you feel self-critical, draw a note from the jar to remind yourself of your inherent value. Example, Alex's self-compassion jar. Alex, a student facing exam stress, created a self-compassion jar filled with uplifting messages. On days when anxiety crept in, he would pull a note, reminding himself, "You are enough," or "It's okay to make mistakes." This tangible reminder helped him refocus and calm his nerves. A self-compassion jar serves as a physical reminder of our worth and the kindness we deserve. 3. Engage in acts of kindness toward yourself. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend. This could involve taking breaks, engaging in hobbies, or simply allowing yourself time to relax. Example, Nora's self-care rituals. Nora, a busy professional, made it a point to schedule self-care rituals into her week. Whether it was a long bath, a walk in nature, or a cozy night in with a good book, these acts of kindness nourished her spirit and reduced her anxiety. Engaging in acts of kindness toward ourselves fosters self-love and nurtures our well-being. 4. Practice gratitude and reflection. Continued. The practice of gratitude can significantly enhance our self-compassion. By actively acknowledging the positive aspects of our lives, we cultivate a mindset that appreciates rather than criticizes. This shift in focus helps to balance our P. Example, Emma's daily reflection practice. Emma, a school teacher, began setting aside time each evening to reflect on her day. She wrote down 3 things that went well, no matter how small, and acknowledged her efforts throughout the day. This practice not only highlighted her accomplishments, but also reinforced her self-worth. Even during challenging times, over time, Emma noticed a significant improvement in her overall mood and self-esteem as she became more reflecting on our daily experiences with gratitude nurtures a positive outlook and reinforces our self-compassion. Five. Incorporating mindfulness into physical activities. Mindfulness can be practiced through physical activities, such as yoga, walking, or even household chores. Engaging fully in these activities helps ground us in the present moment and allows us to connect with our bodies. Example, Nathan's mindful running. Nathan, a busy executive, often felt stressed and overwhelmed. To cope, he started running, but initially, his mind would race with thoughts of work and deadlines. After learning about mindfulness, he decided to practice mindful running. He focused on the rhythm of his breath, the sensation of his feet hitting the ground, and the sounds around him. By anchoring his awareness in the present, Nathan found running to be a joyful escape rather than an extension of his stress. This practice helped him clear his mind and recharge, leading to a healthier work-life balance. Mindful physical activities allow us to connect with our bodies and the present moment, promoting both mental and physical well-being. Six. Creating a compassionate environment. Surrounding ourselves with supportive people and creating a compassionate environment can enhance our self-compassion and mindfulness practices. Engaging with others who foster kindness and understanding encourages us to adopt similar attitudes toward ourselves. Example, Jane's supportive community. Jane, a graduate student, sought to create a supportive network among her peers. Together, they formed a study group focused not only on academics but also on mental well-being. They shared their struggles openly, encouraging one another to practice self-compassion. This environment allowed Jane to feel accepted and understood, reinforcing her own practice of kindness toward herself. The support of her peers helped her navigate the pressures of school with a sense of camaraderie and shared experience. Creating a compassionate environment fosters connection and reinforces our self-care practices. The importance of self-compassion in times of difficulty. In challenging times, self-compassion becomes even more vital. When facing setbacks, failures, or disappointments, it is easy to slip into self-criticism and despair. Embracing self-compassion allows us to acknowledge our humanity and treat ourselves with kindness during these difficult moments. Example, Peter's self-compassion during career setbacks. Peter was a marketing executive who faced significant challenges when his company underwent layoffs. He felt anxious about his job security and overwhelmed by the pressure to prove his worth. Initially, Peter fell into a cycle of self-criticism, blaming himself for not being good enough. After attending a mindfulness retreat, he learned to cultivate self-compassion during times of stress. Instead of harshly judging himself for feeling anxious, Peter began to acknowledge his feelings and remind himself that it was okay to struggle. He practiced self-care, taking breaks when needed and reaching out to friends for support. This compassionate approach allowed him to navigate the uncertainty with greater resilience, leading to personal growth and a deeper understanding of himself. In challenging times, self-compassion is a lifeline, allowing us to navigate difficulties with kindness and understanding. The interconnection of present moment awareness and self-compassion. Practicing present moment awareness and self-compassion is a dynamic interplay that enhances our overall well-being. When we focus on the present, we become more attuned to our thoughts and feelings, allowing us to respond with kindness rather than judgment. Conversely, self-compassion fosters a sense of safety that encourages us to stay present and engage fully in our experiences. Example, Clara's integrated practice. Clara, a healthcare worker, often experienced burnout due to her demanding job. She decided to integrate present moment awareness with self-compassion into her routine. During her shifts, Clara practiced mindfulness by taking brief moments to breathe and check in with herself, acknowledging her feelings without judgment. When she felt overwhelmed, she would remind herself that it was okay to feel this way and that she was doing her best. This integrated practice helped Clara remain grounded and compassionate toward herself. As a result, she found greater joy in her work and improved her interactions with patients, fostering a more positive environment for both herself and those around her. The integration of present moment awareness and self-compassion creates a powerful foundation for resilience and well-being. The ripple effect of mindfulness and self-compassion. The impact of practicing present moment awareness and self-compassion extends beyond our individual experiences. As we cultivate these qualities within ourselves, we contribute to a culture of kindness and understanding in our communities. Our ability to approach ourselves with compassion allows us to extend that same kindness to others. Example, the transformative power of kindness in the workplace. In a corporate office, a team led by Michelle began to incorporate mindfulness and self-compassion into their work culture. They started meetings with a moment of silence for everyone to center themselves, encouraging team members to practice present moment awareness before discussing projects. Michelle also encouraged open conversations about mental health and self-care, emphasizing the importance of supporting one another. As the team embraced this approach, they noticed significant improvements in collaboration, morale, and overall job satisfaction. By fostering an environment where mindfulness and self-compassion were valued, They cultivated a workplace that prioritized well-being and encouraged personal growth. As we practice mindfulness and self-compassion, we create a ripple effect that enhances the well-being of those around us. Sustaining the practice of mindfulness and self-compassion. Integrating mindfulness and self-compassion into our lives requires commitment and practice. It is essential to remain patient with ourselves as we navigate this journey. The goal is not perfection but growth and understanding. We can sustain these practices through ongoing reflection, engagement, and community support. Example, Alex's ongoing commitment to mindfulness. Alex, who previously faced anxiety due to work pressure, committed to practicing mindfulness and self-compassion daily. He set realistic goals for himself, incorporating short meditation sessions, mindful breathing exercises, and moments of self-reflection into his routine. Over time, these practices became natural habits that provided him with tools to manage stress effectively. By sharing his journey with friends and colleagues, Alex inspired others to explore mindfulness and self-compassion, creating a supportive community that reinforced these values. This ongoing commitment not only enhanced his well-being but also contributed positively to his relationships. Sustaining mindfulness and self-compassion requires ongoing commitment, patience, and the support of a community. Conclusion: practicing present moment awareness and embracing imperfection through self-compassion is a transformative journey. By grounding ourselves in the present, we cultivate the ability to respond to life's challenges with clarity and kindness. Embracing our imperfections allows us to navigate anxiety and setbacks without judgment, fostering resilience and growth. As we integrate these practices into our daily lives, we create a ripple effect of compassion and understanding in our communities. Each step we take towards self-compassion not only enriches our own experience, but also contributes to a more supportive and empathetic world. In this journey, we learn that it is our humanity, with all its imperfections, that connects us and makes us truly beautiful. As we reach the end of our exploration, it's vital to embrace a profound understanding. Anxiety is not an enemy to be fought or a burden to be cast away. Instead, it is a temporary visitor, a lesson in disguise, arriving unannounced and reminding us of our shared humanity. Each time anxiety makes its presence known, it offers us a unique opportunity to pause and reflect, teaching us to practice mindfulness in the face of uncertainty. In moments of clarity and moments of turmoil alike, we can return to the timeless wisdom of Buddha, who taught us that within each of us lies the capacity for resilience and steadiness. Just like a calm lake, unperturbed by the winds that may ripple its surface, we can cultivate a deep inner peace that remains undisturbed amid life's storms. This practice of mindfulness invites us to acknowledge our feelings without letting them define us. As we learn to accept anxiety as a part of life, we discover that true peace is not found in the absence of fear, but in our ability to coexist with it. We are not our thoughts or our worries. We are the aware presence that observes them. As you move forward, carry with you the understanding that, with mindful practice, you can cultivate an inner sanctuary, a place of calm where anxiety holds no power over your spirit. Embrace your journey with compassion and patience, knowing that every step taken in mindfulness is a step toward greater peace and freedom.